Hello and welcome to the world headquarters of SouthBmore.com. Where else but in South Baltimore? Kevin Lynch here, joined by Marco Romanell, the sports columnist for SouthBmore.com. We are here to preview the upcoming Baltimore Orioles season.
Kevin, I brought my notes on the women's NCAA tournament Final Four. We're not going to be covering that?
Marco, we did enough women's Final Four last week, so we're going to do the Orioles this time. But I tell you what, if anybody is looking for the next big thing as a women's college basketball analyst, Marco Romanell is the guy. Look out, Kara Lawson.
I don't think Kara Lawson has anything to worry about, but I digress.
I guess we'll see. Now, the burning question on every Orioles fan's mind this year is, will the streak end?
Which streak is that you're talking about?
The streak we talk about is the bobblehead streak. It's been 2 straight years since the Orioles have given away a bobblehead for a guy who's actually on the Major League roster.
2 years ago was this Nolan Ryan bobblehead, and last year it was Brian Mattis, who got optioned to Norfolk after his intercostal muscle injury. Hopefully that streak doesn't continue.
Yeah, so certainly the marketing department's got to be working hard on making sure that the bobblehead they give away is actually on the team this year.
Well, I was not a marketing major by any means, but how about this for an Orioles bobblehead giveaway? Crappy Orioles relievers. You could have Mike DeJong going like this, the head back as a baseball flies out of the yard. Alan Mills just punching Darryl Strawberry after that brawl. You could have Steve Klein just coming in and walking people. I mean, I think that would be a great promotion because you don't need to worry about them being on the roster.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing maybe like a Armando Benitez just wiping the sweat off his brow as he gives up game-winning home runs in the 1997 ALCS. So certainly, I mean, you know, if you want to bring back gut-wrenching moments from Orioles history, it may be a better PR thing than a bobblehead for a guy who's currently at Norfolk Tide.
Right. Well, I think the only possibility of that possibly happening is a Mark Reynolds bobblehead with the trade talks. But yeah, let's not have that streak continue.
One can dream. Now, moving on to the season, I believe it was ESPN, the magazine, that said best case scenario, this team could win 70 games.
Wow.
Which I hope the players are as offended by that as I am. It's not like we're marching the Towson Tigers out there to try to knock off the Red Sox and Yankees.
I mean, no disrespect to our alma mater, Towson, obviously.
Yeah, they're on the rise. Watch out.
Definitely.
But you know, I mean, this is a team that clearly has some good Major League players. You know, you look at a J.J. Hardy, maybe the best shortstop in the American League. Adam Jones, Nick Markakis, 2 Gold Glove caliber outfielders, 2 guys that can hit pretty well, too. And then you look at Matt Wieters, an all-star Gold Glove guy. So certainly this is a team with some players. Even looking at the pitching staff, a lot of young guys who have had a lot of young promise to not even think up there's a possibility some of those guys can take the next step. I hope the players are as offended by that as I am.
I mean, certainly, if you look at this Orioles roster compared to the rosters of, like, the Oakland A's, the Seattle Mariners, even teams like the Chicago White Sox and Indians, it's head and shoulders above those rosters. The problem is they play in the American League East, which I think it's Tampa's division to lose, but you also have the Blue Jays up and coming, and naturally the Blue Bloods and the Yankees and Red Sox. But any other division, I think the best-case scenario win projection total will be higher. But I know personally Adam Jones is offended based off of an interview that I heard on ESPN Radio a couple weeks ago where he just said, who are the Yankees and Red Sox? Why not us? Like, why shouldn't we be able to compete with them? And that's the attitude that you need to have if you want success.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the big storylines I really thought was interesting coming into this offseason is Brady Anderson. I'll give a pause for effect so every girl in their late 20s, mid-30s can sort of stop thinking about their husband or boyfriend for a moment. Maybe think about their woman cave with the shirtless poster of Brady Anderson. But Brady Anderson, obviously a guy who's from that winning culture of the 90s when the Orioles had some pretty good teams. He's really taken it on to be sort of the head trainer, has a big workout program for a lot of the Orioles. So this offseason, we saw a handful of guys who worked out with him, and so far it really seems like it's paying off. We saw Chris Tillman, who's actually going to start the year at AAA, but he had a less than 3 ERA in spring training, was throwing harder than he has in several years. Brian Mattis also trained with him. He's throwing the hardest he has really at any point as an Oriole, so he appears to be in good shape. Mark Reynolds appeared to have lost about 30 pounds. 30 pounds, doesn't seem to have that Aubrey Huff gut anymore. and then you look at Tommy Hunter. I mean, this guy used to look like Jon Favreau from Rudy.
Yeah.
Now he looks like Jon Favreau from Swingers.
Unbelievable. Who would have thought that Vince Vaughn would have ended up being the fat one out of that combo?
Yeah, exactly.
More Bebop, I guess.
Not so much. So, you know, Tommy Hunter, always a guy with a lot of talent. You always thought if he could lose some weight, get in better shape, he could be effective. And it looks like Brady Anderson was able to get that out of those guys. Maybe their workout program was, we're all going to rollerblade without shirts down Venice Beach. And if you're embarrassed by that, then get in better shape. Personally, I think most of us would be embarrassed just rollerblading with our shirts off. But
exactly.
Whatever works.
That's not an image I want to think about. But, yeah, certainly. I mean, especially for a pitcher like Tommy Hunter, to be able to go into the 7th, 8th inning still with your velocity, you need to be in better shape. So that can only help him. I mean, regardless, is it going to translate to wins and losses? you never know. But I mean, certainly getting in better shape can only help this team more than harm. I'm glad to see that Brady is actually doing that. You need someone with a winning attitude, a winning mindset, and someone who's played the game that can tell them actually how to get in good shape. And I mean, it might be a small thing, but it could end up helping the Orioles.
Now let's take a look at the Orioles offensively. Top 10 in the majors in a couple different offensive categories last year. As far as batting average, they were about the middle of the pack in baseball. So certainly if this offense can sort of take the next step, it could be a pretty dangerous offense. Certainly you got to love, like guys we mentioned, Adam Jones. Can Nick Markakis regain that form from a couple of years ago? Matt Wieters seems to be taking the next step. So give me some thoughts on the Orioles offense for 2012.
Well, I think a big key is your boy Nolan Rymel getting the full-time starting gig in left field. I mean, all Nolan Rymel seems to do is just hit homers, and now that you give him 162 games, maybe 150, however many he plays, that can only help the lineup. But the Orioles did all this without a catalyst at the top of the order last year, certainly with Brian Roberts out, and there's no date where he might come back. But you need that prototypical leadoff hitter that can get on base, so that way those solo shots become 2-3-run shots, and it catches you up in ball games or extends your lead in ball games. But the sky's the limit for this Orioles team. I mean, the hitters all took major strides. Matt Wieters showing that power bat, pulling the ball. His power number should increase. And Adam Jones, I think, definitely star in the making. Potential 30 home run, 100 RBI guy, and hopefully he could have his average hovering around 300. Nick Markakis, if he could get back to the 50 doubles that I believe led the league 2 years ago, plug him in the two-hole, get on base for the big boppers. I mean, this offense is very, very formidable and one that shouldn't be slept on.
Yeah, absolutely. If guys like Matt Wieters and Adam Jones can go from good to great, can they carry this team? And I think, to me, a big question mark that could really sort of sway which way things go is Chris Davis. Here's a guy who was brought in with the Koji Uehara trade last year, as we traded Koji for Chris Davis and Tommy Hunter. Chris Davis is a guy that's shown a lot of power, also a lot of strikeouts. Not unfamiliar as it is with Mark Reynolds. Can this guy sort of take the next step? He finished pretty strong last year. You look at the first base position, we've gotten nothing out of it the last 2 seasons.
That might be an understatement, as I believe it was sometime late June, early July when the Orioles had their first home run from a first baseman 2 years ago, and it was Ty Wigington actually converted second baseman.
So this guy can hit above 250, hopefully give us 25 to 30 home runs. I mean, that is an enormous boost from the first base position. All I remember about Derek Lee from last year was striking out with 1 out and guys at third base last year.
And how Jim Hunter would act surprised that it happened. I'm like, we knew this was coming, honestly. But yeah, I mean, Davis is a guy who never really had a shot in Texas. He always platooned with Hank Laylock, got sent up, got sent down. They didn't like his swing and miss. Like, he swings and misses a lot. But, I mean, you give him a full season, you never know. Like, he starts becoming more accustomed to the pitchers in the American League, and the sky's the limit for him. He's definitely got power potential. He needs to limit the strikeouts, but, I mean, his bat definitely could be a key to the Orioles.
Now, looking at the pitching staff, obviously they picked up Dylan Bundy in the draft last year,
Right.
who's only 19 years old. So unless we're seeing a Steven Strasburg-type rise, probably not going to see him this year. So give us some thoughts on the pitching staff this year that really could be the difference between being the team that people think they're going to be and maybe being something a lot better.
Well, this isn't going to be exactly hard-hitting analysis here, but pitching is the key to the Orioles season. There's no excuses for these guys anymore. We've heard grow the arms, buy the bats. Well, we're growing the arms. They're quote-unquote fully healthy, and there's no excuses. If these guys don't succeed, we need to get people in there that can. But I truly believe a healthy Jake Arrieta, a healthy Brian Mattis with an increased velocity will just anchor the top of the staff. You bring back Zach Britton, future ace of the team, bring him slowly back. His mindset, his winning attitude, he hates to lose, and that attitude's going to rub off on the rest of the pitchers. And Tommy Hunter, the guy pitched in the World Series 2 years ago. People forget that. I mean, he's got major league stuff. He's had success in the major leagues, and now hopefully slimming down could help him, his stamina later into the games. I think pitching is the key, and if these guys develop, like maybe in 2005, like with the Tigers, where you saw Mike Maroth, Jeremy Bonderman, people like that propel them to the World Series. Maybe the Orioles won't get to the World Series, but this pitching, if good, can have them contending for a wild card, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. If guys like Mattis and Arrieta, if Arrieta just stays healthy, if a guy like Mattis sort of pitches the way he finished 2 years ago, I mean, certainly that's a huge difference. You're looking, can 3 guys be pretty good and find another couple guys just to be solid? You can really win a lot of games. And, they brought in Y.E. Chen this year, who is considered by many a top 5 free agent out there on the side of pitching, a guy from Taiwan who pitched in the Japan League. So hopefully, if anything, it'll take guys a while to get used to him, and maybe he ends up being pretty good. Certainly a guy who's really pitching with the country of Taiwan on his back, so I know he really wants to prove himself.
And his off-season regimen consists of sitting in sauna so he doesn't wilt away in the hot Baltimore summer, a la Koji Uehara. But yeah, I mean, this staff definitely the time is now for them to come in, and I love everything that I've heard from them. When Brian Mast got set down last year, he didn't sulk. He said, I'm going to get back to the major leagues. I'm going to work hard to get back to being the pitcher that I was. Zach Britton, every interview I hear with him, the guy hates to lose. And Kevin, it's not like these guys were in the minors last year and they're coming up and they're like, oh my God, I have to face this Yankees lineup. They faced them last year. They've taken their lumps. They've had success. They've had not so much success. So they're not going to be scared of facing the lineups in the American League East, and I don't think that's a factor that people are looking at. I mean, these guys have the confidence. They've beaten the Yankees. They've beaten the Red Sox. They've beaten the Rays, and hopefully they do that more often than not this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And then if you look at Chris Tillman, people like to write him off. The guy's still only 23 years old.
Right.
He'll start the year at AAA, but had a really solid spring training this year, and hopefully he can get that confidence back because he was the centerpiece of the Miguel Tejada trade. So hopefully there's a guy that can really, the Eric Bedard trade. So hopefully there's a guy that can really just come close to what he was expected to be because you got a lot of guys with a lot of potential. Hopefully a few of them put it together and get out there and win some games. So let's touch on the bullpen real quick. I'm a big Jim Johnson fan. I'm excited to see he is the closer going into this year. He really finished the year strong as the closer last year. So really we know at the back end of that bullpen we've got a solid guy. And by effect of bringing in so many guys competing for the starting rotation, I feel like that makes our bullpen a little bit stronger. They brought in a Luis Ayala this year who could be a setup guy. Kevin Gregg's going to be fighting for that setup job. So certainly, bullpen is always a wild card because there's a reason they're in the bullpen.
Absolutely.
They weren't good enough as starters, but certainly there's a lot of depth there, which you couldn't say a lot of the past years.
Yeah, and you can't discount the mindset that having a good bullpen has on the starters where they know if they come out of the game in the 7th inning, they're probably going to get the win because the bullpen can come in and get 9 outs, whereas you didn't have that last year. Every pitcher that got pulled had to leave the game thinking, uh-oh, here we go again, I have men on base. These men are going to come in because insert bad Orioles reliever here is going to come in and blow it. So hopefully if the bullpen is definitely the key, Jim Johnson, like you said, the back end of the bullpen solidifies maybe our closing position, which we haven't had solidarity there probably since Randy Myers. I mean, you've had Jorge, Julio, Armando Benitez, the list goes on. And then this allows you to slot Kevin Gregg into a less pressure-packed role of a setup man where I think he could probably be effective. Jason Hamm will be your long man once Zach Britton comes in. Major league starter with decent enough stuff, but hopefully we don't see him too much. The bullpen definitely is the key, but it also impacts the starting pitching where they won't have to nibble as much. Their mindset is, okay, I don't have to be afraid to put people on base. I can let this guy hit because if he gets on base, the bullpen can come in and clean it up, and that'll lead to more wins for the starting pitching and better mindsets, I think.
And then you look at Matt Lindstrom, too, who was brought in that Jeremy Guthrie trade from the Colorado Rockies, a flamethrower who had, I believe, a sub-3 ERA last year for the Rockies. So another nice addition there. And what I like about Jim Johnson as a closer is he pitches strikes and he keeps the ball down. Certainly walks and home runs are the two things that kill closers. He seems to keep both of those very limited.
I just hope that I don't want the bullpen by committee kind of thing. I like Johnson in the set role as a closer, but keep guys in who have success. If you bring in someone for the 7th inning and they mow him down in 9 pitches, why would you bring Kevin Gregg in the 8th inning? Just keep that guy out there. I mean, certainly Johnson's a no-brainer to bring in the 9th, but how Buck Showalter utilizes the rest of the bullpen is definitely going to be key. I think he's learned his lesson on if a guy's having success, keep him in there.
Absolutely. Now let's take a quick look at the rest of the division. I think a lot of people feel like this might be the Rays' division to lose this year. They have an incredible young pitching staff. The Toronto Blue Jays look like a team on the rise. So let's take a quick look at the teams that everyone has been afraid of for a long time, the Yankees and Red Sox. You look at the Yankees, George Steinbrenner passes away. Now his sons are running the team. They've committed that they're not going to spend the money that their father did. They said they want to get their payroll down to about $180 million by next year, which is still a whole lot of money, but at least they're not going out there and spending $250, $260 million each year. And then you look at the Red Sox, Theo Epstein. The Red Sox hadn't won a championship in almost 100 years. This young guy comes in as GM. They win 2. Now they trade him to the Cubs. So do you think maybe these two, the allure of both these franchises could come down a little bit this year and in the years beyond?
Kevin, you know my disdain for Red Sox Nation and Yankees Nation, but absolutely it's the Rays division to lose. The Rays are the up-and-coming team with better pitching, younger position players, and equally skilled position players. The Yankees, all their stars are on the back end of their careers outside of Robinson Cano and Curtis Granderson. They don't have the depth at pitching. They traded their number 1 prospect in Jesus Montero for a guy, Michael Pineda, who was a solid starter, but guess what? He's starting the season on the DL. They traded Burnett, so now if Phil Hughes doesn't show up, you have CC Sabathia and then a bunch of ragamuffins at that starting rotation. You have an aging Mariano Rivera, who's still one of the best in the game. But if you could somehow maneuver your way through this Yankees lineup, they're not going to win games on pitching. And certainly with the Red Sox, that's not a formidable lineup like you had with David Ortiz, a younger Kevin Youkilis, Jacoby Ellsbury a couple of years ago that went to the World Series. And their pitching staff isn't as good. You have John Lester, who is like 900-0 against the Orioles in his career. Kind of struggles with other people. Josh Beckett, who pitches good when he wants to. And then John Lackey, who really isn't living up to that deal. So the Yankees have the lineup, but they're all old. The Red Sox don't have the lineup. They have a little bit better pitching. But as far as pitching depth, nobody's better than the Rays. And I think the Rays in Toronto could finish 1-2 in this division. It wouldn't really surprise me.
Yeah, you look at a lot of the free agent classes the last couple of years, there's maybe one marquee guy. So, really if things continue like that, it'll prevent the Yankees from really going on a spending spree, to which there's just not much available. We've already touched on they don't have a lot of prospects to be getting with trades. So it should be interesting. I know in talking to people who are with the media, the fact that there was a problem in the Red Sox clubhouse was an understatement.
Right.
Apparently there was a lot of knuckleheads in that, and we'll see if Bobby Valentine can come in there and get some discipline back. But I don't think anyone was sorry to see them collapse the way they did here in Camden Yards last year.
I know that was probably one of the greatest sporting moments of my career, was seeing Red Sox Nation leave. Hopefully that continues, but you hit the nail right on the head with the Red Sox. You won the World Series in 04 and 07. That doesn't entitle you to just make the World Series. You actually have to win it on the field. And I don't think that Red Sox collapse, that's still in the minds of those players. I mean, they can say all they want, we put it past us, but they're going to remember late in games like, oh my God, we blew this, I think it was a 9-game lead in a month to lose the wild card. And this lineup just doesn't have the sexiness and the appeal that it had a couple years ago. So they're going to have to win with pitching and defense, and I don't know if they could do that. Bobby Valentine is more known for his antics. Certainly he's a good baseball guy, but how much success has he had? He went to the World Series in 2000 with the Mets, but his teams have been perennial losers pretty much since then.
Well, let's make some predictions. Who do you think will be the Orioles' offensive MVP this year?
Well, I think you know who my favorite Oriole is. It's one Adam Jones. I'm rocking his T-shirt jersey currently. The sky's the limit for that guy. 30 home run, 100 RBI potential. Prototypical 5-tool player, can hit for power. Should be able to hit for average. I think he's shown more plate discipline where he doesn't chase that ball that starts on the outside corner and lands in the first base side batter's box anymore. If he can avoid the 0 for 20 streaks that dip his average down into the 260s and stay more consistent, I think he could be just easily the Orioles' best offensive player.
Yeah, he's certainly been their best hitter in spring training so far this year. And a guy many have said for a long time, if he can lay off that low and away pitch, he could really be an incredibly dangerous player. I'm going to go with Matt Wieters, a guy who finished very strong last year. And I just think he's looking to drive the ball now. He sort of came up as this guy that's built like a power hitter, but sort of as a spray hitter.
With most of his home runs going to the opposite field.
Exactly. Now, if this guy really commits to pulling the ball and driving the ball, we've got a Utah Street right field fence that was dropped 8 feet. So that really should be ideal for left-handed hitters. Hopefully Matt Wieters can take advantage of that and start this year the way he finished last year. He could be a very dangerous player.
And more importantly, Kevin, the pressure is off with Wieters. I mean, certainly when he came up, I don't remember a prospect touted that highly since maybe Jeffrey Hammonds or Ben McDonald. Some people said he hasn't lived up to the hype. But guess what? He was dealing with handling a young pitching staff. Now that pitching staff has slightly more experience. He doesn't have to coddle them as much. He still calls a good game and focuses. He's one of the best defensive catchers, but now that can take a back seat to focusing on his offense and driving the ball, like you said. I think we saw his power numbers increase. They could take a major step forward.
Yeah, it's certainly a guy who had one of the best batting averages in the majors with guys in scoring position last year. So you move him up a little bit in the lineup, he's going to get more chances to knock guys in. Let's take a look at pitching. Who do you see as the Orioles' top pitcher this year?
I mean, I love Zach Britton, but I'm going to have to go with one Jake Arrieta. Fully healthy this year. He's got that out pitch, like you said, a fastball that can just blow by people, a slider that can be devastating at times. And I think Jake Arrieta has the confidence. He had success last year. He could have won 15 games with bone chips in his elbow last year. He's not afraid of the Red Sox and Yankees, and he, like you said, he can get out jams. And that's most important because you don't have other Orioles pitchers who, when they get a couple people on base, can get that one either double play ground ball or just the strikeout that they need, and Jake Arrieta can do that. And he's going to be the opening day starter, and I think he's going to be the Orioles pitching MVP for sure.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and agree with you. I really like what I see out of Jake Arrieta. Just to know that he's pitching completely healthy for the first time since high school, and he's already been pretty effective, especially with the strikeout, especially with getting out there and winning games. I really like his approach. I think he's a bulldog out there. I think he's going to do big things for this team, and when they need a big start out of a pitcher, I think he can give that to them this year, and hopefully that'll spin off to the rest of the guys and hopefully turn into a good season. So let's predict how many games can the Orioles win this year? How many are you predicting they're going to win?
Well, I'm not going to lowball them with the 69 number. That's just pretty disgraceful. This team has potential if it all comes together to contend for a wild card. I think they're still a year away. Certainly the Britton injury is a little bit of a setback, but I'm going to go with about 75 wins. But there's possibility they could win in 80 games, obviously, if everything goes right, the pitching develops, and the hitters keep doing what they did last year.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and shock the world, and it's a sad state of affairs that this is shocking the world, but I'm going to predict the Orioles are going to win 87 games this year. I think the offense gets a little bit better than it was last year, and I think some of those young guys take the next step, stay healthy, and surprise some people. I think you just need a few guys pitching well, a couple other guys who can eat some innings. I think we have a strong bullpen. I think this team can surprise some people, and I see maybe a couple teams in our division coming back down to the pack a little bit. Obviously, you got some good young teams in the Rays and the Blue Jays, but I think the Orioles can be one of those teams too. I don't think they're going to get a playoff spot, but I think they're going to keep that additional playoff spot created by Major League Baseball in sight for a a good portion of the season.
Well, certainly the key with this team is to limit the lengthy losing streaks. The games where in 20 games they'll go 2-18 or 3-17. If you could maybe at most have like a 4 or 5 game losing streak, that doesn't put you too far from the 500, where when you get on a winning streak of 8 games or whatever, suddenly you're over 500. But with this team, with like any other young team, confidence is key. If they start winning games early, if they go out and beat the Yankees, beat the Red Sox, that winning mindset is going to go to every person on that roster, whereas you're at the plate, suddenly, now you want to get a hit because you don't want to let your teammates down. You're out on the mound, guess what, I have to get this out because I don't want to let my team down. And that mindset, Buck Showalter has that. I think the players are starting to have it, and early success will definitely breed more success, and it could be a magical run late in the season.
Yeah, I sure hope so. If they can just play 500 baseball going into the summer, I mean, the yard could look like this every day.
That would be minus the old HTS logo back there, but...
Yeah, exactly. Or the Hit It Here with the Maryland Lottery. Certainly, we hope the only difference between this year and that picture is the outdated ads on the walls. But certainly, we can hope for the best. Let's do a quick World Series prediction. I'm guessing based on your 75 wins, it's not going to be the Orioles. Let's. Who are your two teams and who walks away with it?
From the NL, I have the old Miami Marlins. I'm buying into the Ozzie Guillen hype, and I'm in the American League, gonna have to go with my World Series winner, the winners of the Prince Fielder sweepstakes, the Detroit Tigers, barring Miguel Cabrera setting his car on fire and getting pulled over while drinking a bottle of Jack Daniels and getting locked up for that. I don't see anybody beating the Tigers with that lineup and their top two starters in Verlander and Scherzer.
Well, certainly, if drinking a lot of Jack Daniels makes you a good baseball player, I would certainly have a lot of friends currently in the majors.
As would I, yes.
But yeah, certainly an interesting pick. He's got the Detroit Tigers winning the World Series. I'm going to predict it's going to be the Phillies in the National League. I like the addition of Jonathan Papelbon to close down a bullpen that's really been an Achilles heel for them many of the last couple seasons. But I think they're going to lose in the championship to the Texas Rangers.
Wow, third time's the charm.
Heartbreaking loss for them. I'm not sure how much they care about baseball in Dallas.
0, actually, would be my guess.
But, we think we have it rough as Ravens fans, which we do. But, just gut-wrenching the way they were an out away from winning the World Series twice in one game last year and didn't pull it off. So I like what Nolan Ryan, I'd like him too. I like what Nolan Ryan is doing with the Texas Rangers, and I think they get it done this year. And I like the addition of Yu Darvish.
Yeah, and with the Rangers, half of their games are going to be facing the Mariners and the Oakland A's, and you can't discount that. I mean, they sweep those teams, they split with the Angels. They're in perfect position to make a deep run in the playoffs. That's not a terrible pick.
Well, should be a fun season. I know we can't wait till opening day, get a couple beers at Pickles, and have a great season. And we're hoping that fun goes all the way into the summer. So everybody have a great baseball season.
Make sure you guys come out, support the team, fill the yard, and let's go O's.